Yo, we're back. It's just John today, MLB Data Warehouse podcast. I got a little whiff of the rankings, of the podcast rankings. We have been going pretty steady here for 3 months now. Tim and I and Doc, along with other special guests, started the prospect preview, prospect warehouse thing. Tim went through all 30 teams. I've been chipping in as well, but basically the podcast feed has been going steady, as you probably noticed, like much more so than any other time in its existence. So I was curious just yesterday, yo, are we even moving up the charts? And I don't even know how the charts work or if it's even reliable or whatever. But again, if you're gonna do something, if you're gonna do something like this, just fully embrace the vanity. And if you're gonna do a baseball podcast, do it so you're in the top 20 or something on a fake list somewhere. So that's where we're going for. And that's why I'm coming at you today primarily. I got some decent stuff to show and say, I guess, but this is kind of a one-off podcast, different category, not in line with any of the series going on or the normal draft prep and stuff. But I wanted to put another one out so we can keep moving up these charts. We're at number 55, bro, on, I think this is, it looks just like Apple, I guess, according to rephonic.com. I don't know if Apple has a better way of ranking or gives more information to actually do top charts and stuff, but number 55 in the fantasy sports category. So pretty good. So I wanted to keep the feed rolling to try to keep moving those up, even though there is legitimately no reward for me if I get to the top. You don't get a prize or money or anything, but let's get to the topic at hand. I'm trying to make it a shorter one. We're going to look at a handful of pitchers on either side of a comparison. We're looking at ADP ranks against ATC projection ranks. So what I did was use ATC projections, and I got my SRV, my standard roto value. I'll pull up the sheet here for those watching. Standard roto value, which is a measure of cross category. So in this case, standard leagues, which is 4 starting pitcher categories: wins, strikeouts, ERA, and WHIP. It takes all those, it balances them out, and it gives you one score for how the pitcher projects overall in value. So then we take those scores and we rank them, and we look at ADP rank, where the actual NFBC drafters are taking a guy, and we find the biggest gaps, the biggest differences, and we talk about them because that's interesting. We find out different reasons why. Possibly some value, possibly some overpriced guys, and we'll kind of talk about that. I haven't looked at these ahead of time more than just kind of a quick glance. So we'll just take a look, and we're not going to make any big claims or big decisions or anything huge on this, but it'll be interesting to see. So the first guy, Jose Soriano, is the most underdrafted guy according to this. So he's the 74th most valuable pitcher in projections, and he's going 134th overall among pitchers. This includes relievers on both sides there. So, and I guess what we'll end up seeing here is upside and injury. And if you're seeing the names, that's what you see. Soriano is the one. He's not an injury concern. He made 30 starts last year, but there's no real upside. Probably a 23% K rate and a bad WHIP. If you look at what he's done in the majors over these last couple seasons that he's been around, he has 51 starts with a 21% K rate, a 10% walk rate, and his ERAs have been 3.42. That was in 2024, and then last year 4.26. If you don't know much about him, it's pretty simple: high walk rate, low strikeout rate, but the highest ground ball rate in Major League Baseball. He has this 99 to 100 mile an hour sinker that he throws, so hitters just bang it into the ground, and that's potentially good for ERA. It wasn't that good for him last year because the walk rate is a problem, and he puts a lot of guys on base for free, and often ground balls can get through for hits and stuff. His skill, which he's among the best, is just not giving up home runs, but other than that, not that good at anything. But that is a significant skill to have, and I don't think we want to undervalue ground ball rate. So he's really not going to have. I don't think he's capable really of having a year where he has a 4.75 ERA or something like that, just because he's given up so few home runs. I mean, the majority, maybe not majority, but the plurality, you could say, the best way to give up earned runs is to give up home runs. And Soriano can have these starts, and he can have these stretches where, the balls that are hit on the ground just go right at dudes. A lot of those walks are erased with double plays and stuff. So he actually gives you a pretty competitive ERA, and he is one of the guys with the ERA projection is 3.71, which is the reason for this. It's a pretty decent ERA projection. If you look at the the leaders, the lowest projected ERAs, there's only 2 guys under 3, and almost surely you'll have more. There's actually only inside the top 350 ADP is what I did here, filtered it to 20 starts or more projected. There's only 14 names under a 3.5 ERA projection. In reality, more players will do that, but the projections are always going to be median outcome. So the ERA projections are usually kind of not all that interesting, I guess you could say. Like, they all congregate pretty close together, except for some extreme cases. But the point being, like, a 3.71 ERA might not sound that great, but it's a pretty strong projection, especially for someone with an ADP of 335, rather. The actual ADP is outside the 300. So no upside at all, but pretty solid guy for ERA, for volume, and just for quality starts, because he does tend to, I mean, this guy's, if the ball's going right at people, like, he's got some very efficient outings, but on balance, the whip is bad and the ERA is never going to be anything special. I mean, there's really no ceiling for him, which we're typically trying to draft for ceiling in the 300s. Just like, take a guy that is one of these dudes that could turn out to be an SP 1 or 2 for you. And Soriano's not going to do that, but he's a little bit of a boring value. I do think it's a value, man. At 335, if you're in a league where you're just kind of building for solidity, maybe a deeper league where a lot of pitchers are going, like, you can do a whole lot worse than Soriano, and people typically don't want him. Number 2, so if you're watching it, you've already seen all these names. 2 and 3 are Nathan Eovaldi and Shane McClanahan. Obviously, drafters just running away because of injury stuff. You have to project them for. I mean, are you really going to go out there, like, I'm a projection guy, right? Am I really going to go out there and project McClanahan for 3 starts? That could very well happen. Like, maybe he'll never pitch again. I mean, it's been 2 full seasons since we've seen him. Maybe he just can't do it. But you have to project him for something. I mean, the max would be 160 innings or something like that. That's probably about, like, if everything goes perfectly well, it's probably about what the Rays would let him do. Although maybe not even, but I don't know. If there's no problems at all and he's just kind of cruising around and feeling really good, like, it's hard to not go over 150 innings or something like that. Point being, like, you can't project him for 10 innings or something. So the projection is 128 innings, a 3.62 ERA, a 1.17 whip. He's a good pitcher, or at least he was last time we saw him. So we don't really know how he'll be when he comes back. But this one's pretty clear that drafters don't like him because they really don't think he'll pitch very much, while the projections are saying 128 innings. Like, I would imagine if you asked around for people to take the over or under on 128 innings for McClanahan, you would get most people saying under. But if you think he can, if you really want to lean into it, take his 240 ADP, think he'll stay healthy and think he'll be, 80-90% of the guy he was before that, then it's a smash. And the projections kind of show that. Eovaldi, not quite the same dominant level of McClanahan, but same story. He projects for 160 innings. He threw 130 some, I think, last year. So it's not like he's been really banged up, but he finished the year. I think he finished the year with an injury. I wrote about it in the Rangers profile. I'm really pessimistic on him, and so are drafters. ADP 156, and this is after a year where he had, I think it was the best or second best ERA in the league last year. He didn't qualify for the awards in the actual, like, ERA title or whatever, but he was a bit lucky for sure. But he's a really good pitcher, and it's the same story as McClanahan here. So a good pitcher from last year that the projections are going to like at a per inning basis, and they just can't project him for too little. But the drafters are just really trying to avoid the injury risk. Luis Castillo, not really an injury risk, right? We project him for 175 innings, a 3.91 ERA, a 1.19 WHIP. He's getting worse. Mariners preview just came out this morning. I wrote it a few weeks ago, so I don't quite remember. It just hasn't been as good. He hasn't used the changeup. The fastball is still pretty good, though. I think it's probably just a case of everybody's bored with him, and he hasn't been, he's been slowly kind of getting worse and not all that fun or interesting. The ceiling's low. He seems to be on the down slope of his career, right? And this changeup going away the last few years hasn't helped. The strikeout rate's been going down. So, but yeah, I mean, with the 175 inning projection on a good team, you get 11 wins, 163 strikeouts, a WHIP under 1.2, and a ERA well under 4. So projections pretty high on Castillo. I think he's another, these guys are either the injury risks or just the safe guys with no ceiling, and that's where Castillo fits into that latter category. Clay Holmes as well, kind of the same story. Bad whip last year, but high ground ball rate. A little bit of Jose Soriano in him. He has a 34-point gap between the ADP rank and the actual projection rank. Projection rank's 102. ADP ranks 136. So same story. You're not going to get a great whip from him. You're probably going to get a bad one. And the ERA could be okay, but he wasn't very good. The strikeout rate was mediocre. The walk rate wasn't great either. Better stuff than Soriano, but not quite the same ground ball abilities, and only 1 year as a starter. So we'll see. I'm not excited about him, but by ADP 338, like, you can do a lot worse. Other names here, Matt Boyd. Matt Boyd was really good last year and really unlucky, but the age of him kind of just has people not really believing in it again. 3.9 ERA projection for Matt Boyd, a 1.2 whip, 10 wins, 142 strikeouts, and 156 innings. So Cubs need him, and he's definitely an underrated pitcher, but not much upside. The swing strike rates weren't really there. Doesn't have much velo or movement or whiff stuff going on. So probably a little bit overlooked just because he's boring and vanilla, but but the SRV here is actually the second highest of the guys we talked about, behind Eovaldi. Sorry, the third highest, at a 6.69. So again, he's like a top 50 starter by projection, but the ADP have him like 30 slots below that. So boring, underrated maybe. Same case with the next guy, Yusei Kikuchi, Shamanaya, Ranger Suarez. So 4 straight lefties there, and we'll can it there. We'll let you we'll let that linger, but kind of that's the story. Like, if you want to just build a boring team that doesn't have a lot of ceiling but has a pretty nice floor, like, those are guys that you can get a nice discount on. And maybe it's a good idea just like draft for some big time upside early on, and then take these kind of guys later to kind of solidify your innings and some of the ERA. Because those guys, like, there's something to be said for if Jose Soriano goes out and throws 175 innings with a 3.7 ERA, like, that's pretty good for a deeper league fantasy staff. Flip it around the other way, guys that the drafters are way higher on than the projections, and probably some more interesting names here. So these are the guys that we think, these are kind of your breakout bets, I guess you could say that. So Hurston Waldrep is number 1 with the Braves. Projection for 24 starts, 136 innings, a 4.41 ERA, and a 1.41 whip. It has an ADP 250, which does make you wonder, like, with that projection, like, where is this coming from? I might have to actually pull up my main dashboard just to remind myself about Waldrep. I wrote the Braves preview a while ago. Waldrep's an interesting guy, but if I could get things going, I came away not liking him, but let me remind myself why. I'm not showing the main dashboard, but maybe I'll just keep talking through it. So Waldrep is likely to be in the Braves rotation. I would say that as long as he doesn't get hurt, he'll have a shot at it. And drafters certainly seem to think so. Again, making him a top 100 pick, a top 100 pitcher pick, but ADP 256. So still, he's going inside of the standard league thing. My problem, I guess, was that he led his pitch mix with a splitter through it 31% of the time, and that's just screams volatility. The fastball just really isn't there. He threw a cutter, but it was bad. 43% strike rate is really bad. 5.4% swing strike rate on the cutter, and then a sinker. So he was splitter, cutter, sinker, curve, slider, descending in usage there. The splitter is good. 23% swing strike rate, 44% strike rate. That's a really good splitter, and most splitters have lower strike rates than that, but it's tough one to lead your arsenal with. But I don't know, maybe you can make it work. Maybe you can be like a Kevin Gossman or Trey Savage type or something like that. But it seems pretty iffy for me. Like, it could go really poorly, but I guess if that does work for him, and if he can improve the fastball or throw more cutters or something like that, there's pretty good ceiling, because he can definitely get whiffs, especially when he needs them. So drafters are betting on the upside there. It makes sense to me. I don't think I would do it, but that one makes sense. Simeon was Richardson, a guy that I thought I was cool spotting out, but everybody else is kind of onto it too. He added a splitter late, and he's not a guy that was dependent on it. He was fine. He was never really a fantasy pitcher before. but he was making starts and getting some results. Like he wasn't bad. He was kind of just like a Mitch Keller type pitcher, volume guy, not horrible, but not really, really good. But then he kind of introduced his splitter last year and finished the year incredibly well. I wish it was a longer sample, but his last 6 starts, he had a 31% K rate, 22% K minus walk, 14.1% swinging strike rate, 271 JA SIERA. So the numbers were awesome after he got that splitter really ramped up. So I think that's what you're seeing there. People just want to take a bet on that. And I've drafted him pretty aggressively as well. So I'm actually part of this ADP being a little bit lower than the projection would have you say. And that makes sense because the projections are going to not overweight the last 2 months of last year, especially when you have 3 to 4 seasons worth of data for Woods Richardson. In this case, you can make an argument that you should weigh the last part of last season a little bit more because it was a different kind of pitcher with the splitter, but it's also not right to just think that, okay, his splitter was great and he was great for 6 starts at the end of the year and that's who he is now. So it could go pretty poorly, but ADP 340, like I would definitely like to take a big shot at that. At that point, 340 in a standard league situation, like if it's not going well, if he makes a couple starts and the splitter's not good, or if he's not throwing it or something and he's pitching poorly, then you can just drop him, right? He's one of those guys that you can test out early on, see if the upside is going to hit, because these guys all do have upside, and then drop them for a replacement, which there's always replacement guys early in the year. So these are going to be guys I'm actually pretty excited about, and guys I'm willing to draft myself, except I already said I didn't really like Waldrop. But number 3 was Bubba Chandler. So 142 inning projection for him, a 4.23 ERA projection, which is kind of insane, but he's a rookie. He's had very little major league experience. He's only made a couple of actual starts in the majors, but what the projections won't do is really bake in the upside for like how good a certain pitch is. And Chandler's stuff is incredible. His fastball, at least. Now, he doesn't have greatest secondaries. He needs some work on those, and maybe that'll hold him back. But his fastball is one of the best in the league. And I think that's going to take him a long way. I would certainly take the way under on a 4.23 ERA projection, but we don't know. I mean, we haven't seen him do it. But yeah, drafters are going to take him aggressively because they know that there's like that SP1, SP2 on a team ceiling. I'm not saying he has screwball ceiling or anything like that, but he could probably end up as a SP2 or SP3 on a fantasy team next year. That's that kind of ceiling. Next guy, Chad Patrick. Interesting situation for him. The Brewers are really going to need him to fill innings after trading Peralta. And I mean, the rotation is very thin. It's like Woodruff and Mizurowski. Those guys have their own questions. I don't know if Woodruff can possibly stay healthy all year, and Mizurowski just command stuff and whatever. So point being that Patrick's going to have to fill into this rotation. We felt pretty good about that even before the Peralta trade, but now even more so. Last year, almost 120 innings last year. He made 23 starts. The good news was a 17.5% K minus walk, 25% K rate, 8% walk rate. We like that. Bad news, kind of a home run potential issue. He had a little bit of luck there, a 14% home run to fly ball rate for Chad Patrick, but just a 32% ground ball rate. So he's getting a lot of balls in the air, and that's not the greatest thing to do in Milwaukee. And he's not like dominant in fastballs that he doesn't even have a 4-seamer. He does. Sorry, strike that. So he's cutter, sinker, 4-seamer. So his cutter kind of works as like a slider fastball duo. It's like a Drew Rasmussen profile. There's no breaking ball here. Change up at 6%, slider at 6%, slurve at 1%. So there is breaking balls, but they're all the off speed and breaking pitches are under 7% usage. So he's coming at you with fastballs, which limits the upside for sure. Like you're not going to have a 28% K rate if you don't have a really good swinging strike pitch. His cutter's fine at that 15.2% swinging strike rate, but upside is limited. But with the innings and with what he was able to do last year, I mean, a 3.35 JA SIERA, just did a lot of good things. Definitely underrated, and I was kind of in on him last year, and I'm in on that too. ADP for Chad Patrick is 331. He's 132 by ADP and 191 by projection. So we like the upside more than the projections do, and I think that's warranted. Tatsuya Ime, God help my pronunciation there. Imai, I don't know. Houston, the guy, we're just speculating. I guess the drafters just think that that they'll take a shot on him. See, maybe he translates to MLB better than the projections think. Those guys are tough to project. It's hard to do for a guy that's been playing his whole life in a completely different league, and we haven't seen him yet. So that's tough. Will Warren, I don't know why drafters would be interested at all in him. 330 ADP, but with Cole and Rodon starting the year on the injured list, and with their other options being like, it's like Luis Heel and him at the end of the rotation. They both should start the year in the rotation. And he was really good against righties, and he had some really good strikeout stretches. Like he had a month or two with a really high strikeout rate, but has no answers against lefties. You'll see this in the Yankees preview. Like he cannot get lefties out, so he really needs to improve. But there is an upside. Like maybe he improves the changeup, or just goes to work this offseason and really comes out able to get lefties out. And if he can do that, like he's really good against righties, like really, really good against righties, good sinker and stuff. And he showed some flashes last year for sure. So I think maybe that's what drafters are on there, but the projections aren't into him. Only a 21 start projection, which I think is right, because there's a real chance that he just can't hack it in the rotation. And once they're all healthy, it's, Fried, Cole, Rodon, Schlittler, and whoever takes the 5th spot. And there's plenty of other guys that are going to be around there. Maybe Luis Heel kind of puts it together, and Warren has to go to either the bullpen or AAA. I think he could be a decent reliever, honestly. He's that good against righties. So more guys here: Cade Cavalli, Brian Bayo, Jacob Misiorowski, Mike Burrows are the next guys. So I like to see Cavalli here as kind of one of my guys. I really like his fastball. He really didn't have any answers against lefties either. He's a little bit similar to Will Warren like that, but the stuff is really good, and he's young. He's just kind of finally getting healthy. He finally stayed on the field, and he might be the Nationals' top pitcher now. He probably is. I don't know, does he start opening day for them? I'm not sure. With Gorgon, I mean, it's an ugly rotation, so he's going to get all the starts and innings he can handle. And there's upside there with the stuff. We've talked a lot about him already. He's in the Nationals preview to check that out. Brian Bayo, maybe just a bet that, okay, the Red Sox like him. He somehow has the ability to get quality starts and get wins and stay in games and just limit hard contact and stuff. But a 4.32 ERA projection, a 1.33 WHIP projection. Projections don't like him at all, but with volume, he's a guy you feel pretty good about. ADP 330 of just like making 30 starts, ERA around 4, and grabbing you 12, 13 wins on a pretty good team. So that's the story there. And that's it. There's a lot more names on the sheet there. If you watch the video version of this, you can see a bunch more names. And we'll probably do some more stuff like this, either written or podcast, but those are some under or overvalued starting pitchers. And we'll be back pretty soon. Next up, I think will be the first base dynasty rankings with Tim and Doc and maybe myself. So we'll be back soon. Stay warm. I mean, I don't want to talk about the weather, I guess, but I'm sure a lot of you are right there with me, and just like we're trapped inside. It's like 2 degrees outside, and it's horrible. So hopefully this helps. That's it. I'll talk to you later.